Hello, everyone. Hello, hello, hello. How is everyone today? How are you doing? I hope you're all enjoying your summer. It's so lovely and warm, and we love it like that. It's just giving off summer vibes today. That's why I'm sitting outside. So thank you for joining me today. My name is Rhoda, and this is Abundantly You podcast, and I'm your host. Today, I'm having a conversation with an amazing woman called Charity Golden. And Charity is a coach who uses her 5 step of creation she used on herself to overcome a lifetime of patterns with abuse in childhood, trauma, and abusive marriages, and addiction, and suicide attempts, and self destruction. But she is in a really good place now, and she used the 5 step plan that she's going to tell us about today, and share a bit about her life so we can get an insight into who Charity is and the beautiful soul behind this being. So, without further ado, I am going to welcome Charity on to come and tell us about her amazing self. Hi, Charity. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm just excited to be here, excited to be with you in this beautiful space. So thank you.
It's so good to have you. I love your background, and
Thank you.
I'm so interested in hearing more about your journey. So I think we'll start with what are you currently doing, and then we'll go into how you got to where you are. So tell us a bit about the work you do, about the 5 step plan, and I am so curious to know about this.
Well, I'm founder of Magical Universe Coaching, and that's my coaching program. But I am certified in the Magnetic Mind Method with Christopher
Mm,
Duncan, and a lot of the processes are built on a lot of modalities, different modalities like NLP, EFT, and EMDR, and it just pulls the best out of everything. And so the 5 step method that I use is the Magnetic Mind Method, and so I have a group coaching program, and I also coach individually. But I
yeah.
kind of work with most of what the people that I work with are midlifers who go from that place of the empty nest and who want to rediscover themselves and actually
Mm,
create the life instead of live the life that they've been living on automatic pilot, so and
yeah.
it's kind of like I help the people that are in the same boat that I was in, and so I can kind of guide them through the things that I went through as well. So I use the processes, and a lot of it really is also sharing my story and my journey.
Mm. Mm, that is so exciting because I love a mix of everything,
Yes.
and I think it's one of the most beautiful ways of doing something because when someone shows up in your coaching program, they might show up for one thing, but then
Mhm.
as you dig deeper, then you have different tools to help them in
Yes.
different ways, and this is so exciting for me because I think you're one of the first person who is actually doing it that way because I just love it like that. So we'll dive deeper into the method, what it looks like,
Yes.
and how it fucking works because it sounds so
Yes.
good. So, just share a bit about yourself because your story is like really loaded. And first of all, you deal with midlife, as you said, but you're far from it. You look fantastic. So,
I'm 47.
oh wow,
Yes.
I'm
Yes,
so
I've grown children, 22, 24, and 28. And so, yeah. Thank you.
you look
I'll
amazing,
tuck that away for
honestly.
later.
You look amazing. So, share a bit about your story and what kind of like led you to what you're doing now.
Well, I had I had abuse in my childhood, kind of from
Mm,
every family branch, really, and it was emotional, physical,
yeah.
and psychological and sexual abuse, and it just ran. Yeah, it came from a very dysfunctional family that just didn't know better. Right,
Mm,
repeating the patterns that they went through,
mhm.
and then what did is like 12 years old, I basically crawled into what I call a shame closet. And I call it that
Yeah.
because a few years ago, I decided I had to crawl out.
Mm,
So I crawled into this shame closet where I thought I was a monster, and I had all of this
wow.
self-loathing, and I blamed myself. Something must be wrong with me to be going through this. And so what I did is I kind of put, it's a closet. So I put all these wardrobes on, I became all these different people in order to survive. Like in order to survive, I would be whoever I needed to be at the moment. So I became kind of a chameleon. And
Mm.
then what I did is I had these addiction issues that were also in my family, and I took those patterns on as well in order to
Mm.
escape and dissociate and basically hide from all of the
Yeah.
dysfunction. And so I ended up in taking all of the abuse that I endured in my childhood. I took those patterns also on into my relationships as I was an adult. And so I ended up in my first marriage at 19 years old, my first baby at 19 years old, and
Mm.
um, and that kind of, it was very subtle, the
Yeah.
abuse at first, and then it just grew as it does, right? It just became worse and worse, and I ended up having to run away from that marriage. And run a state away. And this is when my addiction issues
Wow.
really popped up, is that I had to leave my children.
Mm.
I felt I was doing the right thing by leaving
Mm.
them in order to go to somewhere, because I didn't have anywhere for them to go to.
Yeah.
So I left them, and that was like the thing that kind of broke the camel's back. It was like I couldn't turn my mom back button back on, losing them, and not back then I had this learned helplessness. I didn't know I had resources. Right. So
Yes.
then that's when I really fell into the addiction. I ended up getting out of that marriage, but I lost my kids. And so I eventually ended up going back to college. I put myself back through college, got my psych degree and my master's in sociology as an adult. And then I ended up in my second abusive marriage, which almost killed me. And
Wow.
actually, this marriage, I ended up at the end of it, I had a stroke,
Oh my
and
God.
my brain just broke. I couldn't take the violence that was
Yeah.
was happening in the house, and I actually ended up in jail twice, trying to defend myself and trying to make sense of this. Like, he was able to use the police
Mm.
to as the system
Mm.
to abuse me further. And I ended up with 8 felonies, facing 8 felonies at the end of it,
Wow.
and with a broken brain. And so, basically, what got me out of that was, one, my brain broke, and I just couldn't trust my reality anymore, because I would just keep going back. I kept going
Yes.
back, kept going back. I would leave, kept going back. And part of that was because I felt I deserved it. There had to be,
Mm.
we stay in those situations partly because we feel that, well, one, we feel we don't have options, or
Mm.
two, we feel that there's a part of us that believes the things that are happening to us is deserved, or that
Yeah.
we're not worth more. And
Mm.
so my first, kind of a long story, but my first
Oh, I
foray
love
out of it,
stories.
really out of it, was that I I decided that I need to go to a group. I said, I'm going to, because I was facing those 8 felonies, and I said, you know what, I'm going to get help. And so I ended up in a 12-step program and a
Mm.
women's group. And that was the first step towards freedom, was I saw these
Wow.
women in this group that had gone through the things that I had gone through, but they were laughing and full of joy and free. And I just, that first meeting, I just bawled. I was a shaking mess, because it was such dissonance between what I was living and
Yeah.
what I saw in these women. And I borrowed their hope. So I borrowed their
Mm.
hope until I had hope and belief. And I borrowed their belief in me too, because that was the first time I felt unconditional love. These people didn't have anything invested in
Yeah.
me, and they didn't want anything from me except for me to be happy. And that was huge for me, because that was the first time. And so I started going and doing the 12 step, and I was in it for a few years. And then that's actually what led me to this coaching program.
Mm.
Was I got into recovery, I got into sobriety, but then I found this coaching program, and I realized there was still so much missing. I found a God in this program, a God of my own understanding. I was on my spiritual journey,
Yeah.
and that's, when the student is ready, the teacher will reveal itself. So I ended up in this coaching program, and that's when I realized that I was still living in fear. I was still living in so
Mm.
much fear, so many of my patterns, and I took the program myself. The program that I offer to my clients is what I put myself through. I went through it, and I think that that's the only way you can really do it, is
Oh,
to go
yes.
through it yourself. right?
Yeah.
So when I saw the changes, I mean, I was disabled since college, basically, almost, and on disability. And this was my first time. I was like, my life's not over. Oh my gosh,
Mm,
my life isn't over. I've recovered from my stroke in so many ways, and
mm,
from the abuse, from the trauma, from the addiction. Through this program, it freed me because I saw the patterns and I saw that it was within me,
mm.
that I was taking my power back. It gave me my power back when
Yeah.
I realized that, because I found accountability. But when you
Mm,
realize that that every choice, everything that happens in your life, regardless of if you just judge it as bad, it's it's your choice. It's how
ex-
you, and you
oh my
always have
God.
choice. It's your choice
Yeah.
on how you take it. Like, bad
Yes.
things can happen to you. People can do cruel things, but it's not
Yeah.
their responsibility to heal you. It's your responsibility what you do and how you take that with you. And I took a lot of
Yeah.
it with me, right? Until I
Mm,
decided I didn't have to anymore. And that
yeah.
was what gave me my power back, is that owning, even
Mm,
the abuse, owning all of it, because it was like I decided how to react. I decided
yeah.
what to do with it. And there's nothing more powerful, because now I have choice to choose differently, right?
Yeah.
The choice is mine. We
Yeah.
always have choice, no
Yeah.
matter what.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
that's
is
kind of the story.
that is so it's so beautiful, and we'll keep going back and forth to
Hmm.
kind of like the things that you've said that really just jump out for me.
Yeah.
And it feels like you were here when I was having a conversation right before you, and we were just talking about, I was speaking to another lady and we were speaking
Mm.
about taking responsibility, and
Yes.
how taking responsibility for yourself, your actions, is kind of like a really huge step to everything, to self-love, to being accountable for everything that you want to do, and for you to be able to, as you say, take your power back and really achieve what you want to achieve, because you're not going to be able to move from a place of powerlessness until you accept and take responsibility. And it is such a powerful story, and thank you so much for sharing that. You've spoken about so many different, dynamics, and I am just, first of all, I am so impressed that you've been able to turn your life around in this way. um Not just come out of the abuse, to be able to come out, to heal yourself, to find hope, and to be able to go back out there to give other people hope, because some people stop at, they found hope, and they live for themselves. You've
Hmm.
actually taken it a step further, which is helping others find hope, because this is all we need. And what you actually received in that space, it looked like hope, but as you were speaking, all I could hear was that was a place where there was so much love, and
Hmm.
it's what really helped you just really transform. And you can see it shining through, because it's the one thing that you didn't really have. It was
Right.
just that acceptance and love, and we don't want anything for you, we just want everything for you. And that must have been really surprising for you. So how did you feel at that moment? Um, because sometimes when people are faced with opportunities to change, they run away because
Hmm.
it doesn't feel safe. How did it feel for
Yeah.
you, and how was that transition for you? How did it look like for you?
Well, it's funny because I still am going through that transition all the time, and the ebbs and flows.
Yeah.
It felt very uncomfortable. It's
Mm,
because we can get comfortable in our discomfort. We are
yeah.
comfortable in our comfort zone, no matter if it is terrible, no matter if it hurts. At least we
Yeah.
understand the pain, and we understand the world from this vantage point. We know
Mm,
how and where we fit in this
yeah.
comfort zone, but we step out of that in the unknown. Well, danger. Danger, Will
Mm,
Robinson. It's like basically we don't know how we fit or how the world is going to receive us. And so it was really hard at first, and I doubted their love. I
mm,
doubted. And it took a long time for me to be able to receive it. Right? People
mm,
can give and shower you with love, but until you're ready to bring it in,
yeah.
then 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 it's just, it doesn't reach you, right? And we
Yeah.
can we can we can be in that place where we are unreachable, right? And so
Mm,
for me, a big part of it was allowing myself to receive that, forgiving
mm,
myself as well for not knowing how to love or be
mm,
loved, and that's still something I'm learning how to do. even today
Yes.
after my coaching and through my coaching, because it's a constant journey of evolution, right? We're
It is.
always growing. And
Mm.
so even now, like I didn't say this, but I was a bulimic anorexic. I was supposed to be the model. One of my identities when I was a child was that I was going to be the model, and I did model for a while. But I would it's and it started out just very gradually as well, from over exercising, restricting, and then that became purging, and then it got very sick. I was
Mm.
actually at a place where my obsession, and I see that kind of thing as it was an addiction for me as well. I had the obsession,
Mm.
and today there's still it's like I've become. It's about letting go of that identity that was put on me,
Yeah.
but because when I gained weight and I got older, I was like, I didn't know how I fit because that was the identity I associated with myself. And if I weren't to my family, and we have a lot of family entanglements, all of us
Yeah.
do, and expectations that are put upon us. And I realized I was like, I didn't know who I was if I wasn't the model or the victim
Mm.
or
It's
the victim.
so interesting that you say that because, you know, the one for putting on weight, and I think every woman goes through this because when you're younger, obviously you look totally different, and then when you
Mhm,
start growing into a woman, you start looking different. And I find like most of the time when people get to their mid 30s onwards, it's kind of like there's a crisis going on with their bodies. It's like you you don't know where you fit in with how
mhm,
you look, and it's kind of like having to rediscover yourself again. I'm just wondering if this is something that you also see with your clients when they get to a certain point, and perhaps this is why you said, a certain age group, because
mhm.
there's I found, especially with women, when you hit your late 30s and 40s, it's like something just changes. And it's suddenly like everyone is thinking, who am I again?
Yes,
Because now
yes.
there's this whole new identity that you've always carried along of the young girl, of the way you thought the world was, and then the experience is teaching you actually it isn't like that, and you get to choose. I'm
You
just
get to
wondering if
choose.
this is something that you see a lot with the work that you do.
Yes, yes. My clients are coming out of divorce,
Mm.
and their children are leaving, and so they have the empty nest thing going on, and they've had the career changes and the all the bouncing back and forth in careers and things like that, and that's the thing is that people it does hit you. There's a place where it's like, is there more?
Yeah,
There has to be more. And
yeah.
who am I? And yeah, you get to choose. But that
Mm.
choosing process is like a lot of times like with the love is that
Mm.
we it's a matter of choosing our ideals too, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And then also realizing that because a lot of the times we've lived for other people, we live for other people. We're grown into that. We live, get the good grades because dad will be proud. Be the good girl because that's what's expected of you because you're a
Mm.
reflection of the family. Get a job get a job and get married and have children. And
Mm.
these are the rules, right? That we take
Mm.
on. And then we come to a place where we realize, was that career or when I went to college, did I do that for me or did I do that for my family, my
Yeah.
parents, or the expectations of society? Because that's what success looks like. A lot of it,
Mm.
like with my body issues, was and is still feeding myself versions of beauty that
Mm.
that are different. I mean, I the thing was is that it didn't matter how skinny I got. I
Yeah.
still saw myself as fat. And I
Right?
still saw myself as not adequate, not good enough, right?
Yeah.
Not good enough. I have to be perfect. And those are some of the limiting beliefs that my clients work on. We work on these core wounds that we take in the
Mm.
human journey. I'm not good enough. I don't belong. I'm
Mm.
insignificant. I need to be perfect. I'm not worthy and I'm incapable. Those are the 6 core wounds that we work on. And
Mm.
and there's something that each of us have tasted at one
Mm.
point or another. And for me, I
Yes.
had the whole list,
Oh,
right?
listen, a whole
Yeah.
buffet.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And so now what I do is like what you consume also it feeds you. Like you are what you
Mm.
eat, you are who you are around. But also, what are you looking at on television? In television, you find out within 10 minutes that I don't have the right car, I don't have the right hair, I don't have the right
Yeah.
boyfriend, and then if I'm married, oh well, I don't have that hallmark marriage, and it's a lot of lack, and
Mm,
problem orientation. Like, oh well, I
mm,
need this, then it'll be better. If I do
mm.
this, then my and the thing is it's not better. These things don't make it because you
No.
take you with you. You take you with you no matter what. You have to win $1 million. Why? I've known lots of people with that are wealthy that are still miserable because it's in them,
Yes.
right? Yeah.
Yes.
So it's a matter of feeding yourself the things that feed your soul and nourish you, but also the ideals that you want to see and want to be, in
Mm,
your life. is
mm.
is if you're constantly looking at like women's magazines and like look, search for the things that feed the belief that you want to have, you
Yeah.
know like look at those and notice them, because what we do is we notice our faults and other people's good things, right?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And so what I've noticed was what helped me was that I would look at women and see, and I think they're beautiful. And it's just like what I did with the shame closet. I didn't believe that was like, I
Yeah.
would never tell someone else the things that I tell myself. Oh my gosh, you're fat.
Right?
Oh my gosh, that looks terrible. Look
They'd
at your
slap
face.
you.
Yeah, yeah, they would slap me. They punched me in the face. but but like but I was like, oh my gosh, she's beautiful. And I was like, and I started to notice the things that I thought were beautiful and sexy, and the
Mm,
curves and all of these things. And then I said, and I was like, okay, okay, now me, now me. And it
yeah.
was and it is still a process of rediscovering what I think beauty is, right?
Yeah. And
For myself.
it's beautiful. And I think it's a lifetime journey. And
Mhm.
anyone, I wouldn't trust anyone who feels like they know exactly and everything they're doing or where
Yes.
they're going. It just is not very genuine. I know you said it's a 5-step plan, but I sense like the main ingredient is love, because that is just all that is oozing from you. It's just
Oh,
that
thank you.
overwhelming love and acceptance. And I feel like that is one thing that I don't know, when they say that when there's a crack, that's when all the gold pours out. And it just feels
Mhm.
like when you had all of those cracks, like those experiences where your cracks and the gold just flowing out is the love. I just really feel that all the way through.
Thank
She's
you.
so beautiful. So you've gone through a whole lot,
Mhm.
a whole lot. And I'm just curious, what kind of clients do you see? What kind of things do you come across? What do you deal with within your coaching business?
It's kind of a mix of everything, really, from
Mm,
anxiety to lack of fulfillment, lack of confidence,
mm,
lack of structure. I mean, the 5-step
mm,
process is it's just a structure, right? To manifest, really. And
mm.
and and those 5 steps, I'll just say them briefly, are to choose a true goal, make a true
Yeah.
choice, and that's basically a choice that's not built on a problem. Because what we try
Mm.
to do most of our lives, we're fixing, managing, or controlling something and trying to
Yeah,
fix this problem. And that's what motivates us or moves us. But the thing is that we're still tied to that problem. And the more you
this is
seek the
it.
problems,
Yeah.
is the more you're going to see problems. And so that
Mm,
first choice is about choosing what you desire simply because you would love it, just because you love it.
mm.
And a lot of it is about focus. And then the second step is to get into the emotion of that end result, because what you do when you do that, your brain experiences it as though it were now, right? You're teaching your brain and training your brain to have that chemical cocktail, to feel the good emotions, because we practice bad emotions, right? But how often do we let ourselves and allow ourselves, like when we were kids, to feel like what it would be like to be a rock star, become a magnet to it, to get into that frequency, and to let yourself feel the good vibes and the good feelings. It changes your frequency. So when you do that, you create an emotional set point, and it's like when you ping a tuning fork and you start to resonate with the things that are in alignment with that desired goal. And then the third step is to look at your current reality, basically just to observe it, to pull the rubber band. That we call that creating tension. Tension is good. Tension seeks resolution, and it seeks the path of least resistance. And when you have that that rubber band pulled from your desired reality, the path of least resistance is towards that goal, right? So you become a magnet to it and get pulled towards it rather than riding the waves, going against the waves. You're pulled and inspired. And then the fourth step is unplug and recode. There's an amazing, and this is the process that actually did it for me when I saw the advertisement, was it's called the rapid recode process. And it literally, it shifts you and your identity, and it starts to rewire your brain. It's called recode because what happens in our brain is that we've got these patterns that are automatic. We think they're automatic, and they're just hardwired that way. Well, the thing is like it's like a forgetting, a conscious forgetting, because when you're doing that emotion of the end result and you're getting into that place, your subconscious is so powerful, right? So we're basically retraining and training your subconscious. It just needs new instructions. It's like a new phone. Who do you imagine if we were trying to run our computers today on the software of when we were 4, right? It doesn't work that way. It just doesn't serve us anymore. What served us to survive no longer is serving us to thrive. And that's what
Yes.
we want. And then the fifth
Yes.
step is to take aligned action. And I think that's one of the key things that I work on with my clients is that aligned action, taking that action, because action is the highest form of communication with ourselves and with other people. And if we don't take that action, then it's just a dream. It's just a
Yes.
wish. It's just a hope, right? When
Yes.
we take that action, we're teaching ourselves so many things. And we're
Mm.
putting ourselves in alignment with that, regardless of how it turns out, letting go of the outcome and just taking
Yeah.
that action. I
Yeah.
like to say, you were gonna. We had spoken earlier in the emails about what I would offer other like entrepreneurs, and I know you didn't ask this yet, but that's it kind of ties into what I've been talking about. Is that I say to do it ugly and do it afraid.
Mm.
No matter what you're doing, just do it. Just take that step, right?
Yeah. I've always lived my life by just I always take the action first and then figure out everything.
Yeah.
Because once I get something in my mind, I've literally got a Virgo brain, which is just like overthinking, meticulous,
Yes.
perfectionism.
Yes.
And if I do that, I'm never gonna do anything because it has to be perfect. So when something
Mm-hmm.
comes up, I just take action and then I figure it out. And I think the beauty of that is when you take the action, you start creating a new reality
Mm-hmm.
and you start seeing the proof that what you're doing could work. It
Mm-hmm.
probably will not work completely, but it gives you an idea of, okay, I need to tweak this and I need to change this. And I find that we have so much knowledge at the moment. This is why I like your 5 step plan, because we have so much knowledge now. You can Google anything on the internet, everyone knows everything, but
Mm-hmm.
then not many people are implementing it, not many people are
Right.
taking action. um, and I just find that we're at an age where there's just so much information, but then we need to just start taking action
Yeah.
because that's
It's
just
overwhelming
this is
almost.
it.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, and if you are going to go through a program and you're not really going to have any action at the end of it, then there's no point. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's just more information, more knowledge you're going to
Yeah.
add onto your long list of whatever your ego wants to fulfill.
Mm-hmm.
um so all of this is fascinating and I love it because of the different modalities obviously that you're doing with, and it's something that you've actually gone through based on
Mm-hmm.
your past, and thinking of all of those things that you went through and who you are today. It's obvious that it's working. How long did you go through the process? How long did it take for you to actually
Well,
start seeing, okay, to start
to
thinking,
start.
okay, now this is kind of like I can kind of like see something. Let's keep doing this.
Well, to be honest, I it was actually I felt a shift from that first advertisement. And
Mm,
he even says, "Don't try this at home. It's not going to work." But it did work. It did work for me. And so I was hooked already. But it wasn't until I signed up for the master class and I was going through it. But it wasn't until honestly something one of the biggest shifts for me was when I invested in myself and I put down the money to take the certification. And I said, I'm doing this. It was the first time I'd ever put my money where my heart is, right? For
mm,
me, not for
mm.
other people, but for me. And I said, and what that told me, that action told me that I'm worth investing in and I'm worth
Thank you.
this.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Welcome. You're
and
welcome.
I thank you so much for saying that, because I think most of the time people don't realize commitment in action looks like you betting on yourself, and you betting on yourself is not just reading and doing all of those things. You have to start investing in yourself. You need to
Yeah.
start putting into yourself to kind of like start seeing the shift, because I always say that that's a price it's going to cost you to get to
Mhm.
where you need to go to. It's
Yeah.
everyone has to pay that price, right? Um,
I
one of the
have two
things,
coaching programs I'm doing right now. I mean, it's always, oh, and continue. You know, coaches meet coaches. We
a lot
all,
of them,
yes,
and,
yes,
and therapists. Tell me
yes,
about
and therapists. I have a whole tree. I used to call it my recovery tree. And I had the program, and I had, eventually I had coaching. I have a therapist. I have doctors. It's a beautiful tree.
it. Yeah, I always say that you have to have your support team. It's kind of
Yes.
like there's someone for and it doesn't have to be someone for everyone, but you need that support where it's really genuine,
Yeah.
and it's really supportive in the sense that it's not it's not for their own good. It really is people who are rooting for you, cheering for you, and really want to see you
Mhm.
succeed. And I
Yeah.
think we all need that without any strings attached.
Yes.
Um, so you your family life was seems like it was really full on. How do you
Mhm.
reconcile that now where you are? Have you been able to um, make amends? Have you been able to build bridges? Have you
Yeah.
decided, well, I've forgiven you, I've forgiven myself, but this is how I'm going to live my life? How have you been able to transition?
Well, my family is a don't ask, don't tell family, kind of erase family. It didn't happen. Push it under the rug, and don't talk about it. So I forget. I have forgiven. I've forgiven my ex-husbands. I've forgiven myself too about my
Mm,
children. And what this program has also done for me is it's enriched my relationships because I'm showing up differently. I'm
mm,
showing up and I'm open to seeing their highest good. Right.
mm,
I've repairing relationships with my children because they've been estranged. Like daughter's starting to talk to me again. And it's just because when you work on you, there's another element to this work. And when you say the pattern stops here, the truth is that we're connected biologically with our children and our ancestors 7 generations back.
yeah.
And that's just science. And so when
Mm,
you change, you're actually changing that field and
mm,
you're healing the line, right?
mm,
So it really does. If you decide that the pattern stops with you, it really can when you
mm,
do the work on yourself. And I've seen it. I've seen it in my
yeah.
family. And they don't have to have anything to do with it. It's just energy, right? Because the science has shown they split an atom. They took that, yeah, you know this. They took the atom and then they put it
To
on the other side of the world. And what they did to this one, it happened to the other.
the
And
other.
that's how we are biologically tied, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So it's a beautiful thing. But
It
I,
is.
I do, I do still in my family, there is that structure. And so
Mm,
I have had to come to an acceptance that that is how they are. A lot of
yes.
when we're going and evolving is accepting that other people are in their own journey. They're
Yes.
where they are. And that was a big thing for me is because I wanted to put my journey on someone else. Like I wanted
Oh
to put
yes.
my journey on my mom. Mom, do this. It's not her journey.
It's kind of like what really happens is when someone comes out of prison and you smell the fresh air and you see
Mm,
how you can go anywhere, you're like, oh my God, I want everyone I know to experience this. And then you
yes.
go back and you try to help them out. But then what tends to happen is if you're not careful, they will draw you back into the prison that you came out of.
Yeah.
So you need to wait for them to be ready. And when they're
Mhm.
ready and they step out, then you can kind of like help them. And I think everyone who goes through kind of like that freedom, they're like, oh my God, I
Yes.
can't believe I was here. Um,
Yeah.
everyone tends to experience that, but I think it's such a beautiful thing to be able to acknowledge that yes, you have forgiven them and
Mhm.
you have love for them, and by healing yourself you're healing everyone else. And I always say that there's so many ways that you can heal your family, your toxic family,
Mhm.
if you really want to. And it doesn't mean you going to them to tell them what to do. It actually
Right.
means just you seeing all of those things and working on your vibrations on a cellular level. It just
Yes.
does wonders.
Yeah.
And just really cuts all of, all of that, um any collusion that might occur, because by the time they're ready to speak, it will just have such a different feel to it, and there'll be so much understanding, which is, ease. I love ease.
Mhm.
um
Yeah, your stuff is contagious. Whatever you're carrying in your cup spills over when you bump into somebody else. So that's the thing. The way I see it is that, what is
yeah.
my cup full of today? And if it were
Mm,
contagious, what I have, if my mood were contagious, or if my thoughts were contagious, would I really want to give that to my mom, or to
yeah.
my kids, or to my clients? And because a lot of this work is intuitive, and I'm an empath, and so
Mm,
that has also been part of my journey, is learning that some of
mm,
the things I'm feeling it's not mine.
yeah.
Right. And that's still a process for me, because
Yeah.
it does get overwhelming. I see it can be a gift or a curse, or both, right?
Yes.
When you're trying to figure it out. But it is a
Yes.
gift. To me, it's a gift, right?
It's a
Because
beautiful gift.
yes,
It's a
because
very
having that
beautiful,
connection,
rare gift.
yes, it is.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
is to be able to feel for someone else, right?
Mm,
But part of that was learning that, okay, okay, that's not mine. That's not mine. I'm not experiencing that, because I would get overwhelmed. And I mean, like you said, I was in and out of the psych units. I had mental health issues. Um, I had every letter in the book: bipolar, um, anxiety, PTSD. Uh,
wow.
like it's a list, a list. When I went to college and I got my degrees, I was like, well, I have a few more letters. That's the way I see it. So yeah, but it did, it was all of this stuff did land me. I mean, in the psych unit, and I got this thing where I felt like, but there wasn't, and I would try to kill myself because I had so much self-loathing, and I was so
Mm,
stuck in the victim mentality. And but it wasn't until I was like in those groups and going into therapy and things like that, and really getting into the healing of it, that I could hear my own victim.
mm,
But the way I heard it was because I
mm,
heard someone else's, and I said, wow.
mm,
And you know what everyone else around you is a reflection of what's going on within you, if it raises some kind of emotion with you. And
yeah.
so I heard someone else's victim, and I was like, I don't want that. I don't want to. I don't want to. I don't want to do that. I don't want to have that narrative anymore. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
because my
It's
sisters
so
grew up in the
easy.
same thing, and but they
Yeah.
took on the strength. I'm a survivor identity. Mine was,
Mm,
I'm the victim. I am
mm,
victimized, right? And
mm,
it took a long time to get out of that. And I help my clients do that as well. Is to see their
yeah.
victim and give those wounded parts a voice to be heard.
Mm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very interesting how people can go through similar paths, but then end up with a totally different perception.
Hmm.
It's just what it's how you see it and how you kind
Yes.
of like engage with it, and what you end up with in your psyche, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like the victim. I think for me, the time that I was able to identify that is, I think I was spending time with someone, and they just kept on whining, and it was irritating me so much. And one thing I also didn't like was when people used to say, well, you've manifested everything around you. I really hated that, because at
Hmm.
that time, like this is years ago, at that time my life really sucked. And I was like,
Yeah.
there's no way I would have manifested this. How would I?
Yeah.
And the more I resisted saying that there's no way I was a part of this,
Yeah.
the more I stuck at that. But then when I actually accepted, I said, okay, so I have played a part in being here. I have manifested this easily. Surely I can manifest easily what I really want if I've
Yeah.
manifested easily
Right.
what I don't want, right?
Right.
And
Right.
and it's
Yeah.
just that first part of acknowledging your part in playing, the part that you played to be there. Because
Yes.
many times we don't. Many times it's easy to blame other people and not to take responsibility,
Hmm.
and not being able to see a way forward because you're always looking at other people.
Right.
So I've heard you talking about the transition. How did you stay away from judging yourself? What was the process for you? Because self-judgment, oh my gosh.
That is something I'm still working on. I
Yeah.
have that inner critic. I call her my inner bitch. And what, but it's funny though is that when I talk with my clients and we're talking about that those tapes that are playing in our head, something that was really big for me was recognizing whose voice it was.
Mm, that's
Wow.
powerful.
Yeah, because because a lot of times we'll just automatically assume it's our voice. We're so hard, it's our voice. But a lot of times those voices is those tapes are there's somebody else. And I had
Mm,
to go back and honestly it was like, I went back to my childhood and I saw I loved my stepmother and I wanted her to accept me, but I couldn't even eat right. I smacked my teeth, my mouth, I couldn't walk down the stairs right. I wobbled or something, and it was like, wow, you can't even walk right, and those tapes
mm,
play in your head. And but me recognizing, I was like, wow, I cared about her, but she was an authority figure. But do I really give her that much power over me? Like,
mm,
who cares what she thinks of me? But that, and
yeah.
that just hearing that it wasn't my voice, it was her voice. So the judgment aspect is, it's like a lot of it's so tied with that acceptance, self-love, and forgiveness of self, right?
Mm,
And so it's a constant, I say it's a dance, right?
mm,
It's a dance because we're always moving forward, we're always evolving, right? Status quo means status no grow, right?
yeah.
Right, but if you are moving, it's a dance, and sometimes it
Mm,
feels like two steps back, one step forward, sometimes two steps forward, one step back. But the beauty in it is that it's the journey,
mm,
right?
yeah.
It's that discovery every time. I think, I'm not sure what language it is, but they have one word for both crisis and opportunity. It's the same word. And
Yeah.
I just see that as, even in, like, if I am judging myself, like, oh, what's that? Where did that come from? Why am I having that? And then then you are teach yourself new, like, didn't have the verbiage for self-love. Sometimes, I mean, that's
Mm,
I mean, think about that. Like, people who don't, one,
yeah.
have any kind of foundation of what love looks like, and
Mm,
unconditional love and acceptance, belonging, goodness, honesty. Well, I didn't have the verbiage, and some people don't have the verbiage to tell
yes.
themselves the good things, right?
Yes.
And it takes 16, like, I think it's 16 negative or positive thoughts to combat one negative one,
Yeah.
because we have trained ourselves. It's so powerful. It's like
Yes.
riding a bike, we're really good at it. We're really good at it.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
It's interesting how you've actually said that, because I never really considered the how when we talk about self-love, we've I've never really considered that there's people who have never had a
Mhm.
language or an expression
Yeah.
for them to actually hold on to,
Mhm.
and kind of like how it looks like. And I guess this is where other people who just really want the best for you actually come in, and
Mhm.
it's through their kindness and through just different gestures of love begin to show you, okay, so this is what it is, this is how it
Mhm.
feels like, and start
Yeah.
feeling safe in it, um
Yeah.
which really shows how community is important.
It
Like we
is.
don't, yeah.
I was thinking that earlier when you were talking. I was like, community is so huge. Tribe, right?
Yeah.
And it's huge for so many reasons, because that's really what I like. Shame disconnects us, and when we
Mm,
find community and that kind of safe space for transparency, that's
mm,
that's the place that healing happens.
that's
And
powerful. Yes.
yeah, and then, like, with anyone, what I tell them is, like, if you're looking for a coach, look for someone that you trust, because
Mm,
without the trust and rapport, there won't be any growth, right? You
no.
have to be able to trust them. And so, that's why, for me, transparency is one of my highest values. And so, yeah, community is huge.
Yeah.
It's a we thing, and I've learned that ever
Yes.
since the 12-step program. It's a we thing. We don't do
Yes.
anything alone.
No. No.
No.
Definitely not. Definitely
Mhm.
not. So how do you how do you what is one of the ways that you continue to develop your self-love?
Well, I'm taking a program right now, a coaching program about self love, and
Yeah.
so I'm taking a coaching program. I I try to live it in my everyday life.
Yeah.
You know, it can be a place, it's a practice like in your everyday life. Do I want to go to the gym? Why do I want to go to the gym? And am I beating myself up? And oh, I feel really good after the gym. Okay, let's feed that, right? And really starting to have that awareness. It's a lot about mindfulness and being
It's a
conscious.
simplicity.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and it's the
I love
little
how
things.
you're yeah, I love how you're saying it because it's the simplicity. It's supposed to be really simple. It's not
Yeah.
meant to be as complex as we tend to think it to be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It can be saying no when you've always said yes. I did a post about
Mm.
this the other day. It could be saying yes when you've always said no to you. It could
Yeah.
be boundaries. It could be doing something that just because you love to do it, not because it's expected of you. Just
Yeah.
little things. It can
Yeah.
it can look it can be that, but it's like what I say is that it's like we were talking earlier about the not having any kind of verbiage. It's like trying to explain to someone that's never seen the ocean. They've only seen the pond,
Mm.
right? Someone who's only seen the pond or been around a pond, trying to explain to them how massive and uh, amazing the ocean is until
Yeah.
you bring the ocean to them.
Yes.
Then they can know, right? And that's
Yeah.
how I see it is that each time we connect, like we're connecting today, and then it'll connect with other people. It's a chance for us to share the ocean, right, of our
Mm.
experiences. And that's a
Mm.
beautiful thing, right? We learn from each other.
Definitely. Definitely. I absolutely love that. Um, are you a Cancer by any chance?
A counselor?
Are you Cancer? What's your star sign? Are you a Cancer?
Oh, Cancer. Oh, no, I'm a Gemini.
What's
I
up?
might have another personality up here that's Cancer.
Gotta love your Geminis.
Oh, I know,
Um,
I know. Yeah,
yeah,
I'm a Gemini.
they keep the world spinning. Um,
Yes.
yeah,
We're
beautiful.
spinning in all different directions. So never
Oh
boring.
my gosh, literally.
Yes,
It's so
absolutely.
insane. I don't know why I picked up Cancer vibes. Do you have Cancer in your chart?
I don't know.
You should have
I
a
don't
look.
know.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to help me with that. My mother's a Cancer, so
Oh,
yeah.
okay. She was probably on her not self. She was more on her not self. Yeah,
Hmm.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I am processing a lot of what you said. It's such a beautiful story.
Thank
There's so
you.
much to be learned from it, especially, in terms of finding the verbiage to what we're looking for. Because most of the
Hmm.
time I don't know about you, but for a time in my life, I was looking for something, but I was
Yeah.
looking for it outside. But what I was
Yes.
actually looking for was myself. I was
Hmm.
looking. It's kind of like I went through a phase where I was looking for love and acceptance from other people, and it was just constant until I realized, wait, why don't I show myself that? And when I started showing myself that, I was like, oh, this really feels good. And
Yeah.
then the outside didn't really matter. I was like, well, I don't really care if you don't like me,
Hmm.
because I love myself. And this good girl syndrome or the nice
Yeah.
girl syndrome. I'm just wondering, did you find yourself having, the nice girl syndrome who always wants to please everyone? Did you ever
Yes.
find yourself in that playing in that realm?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And in fact, just recently I went through a little thing of my own. And I went back to an old circle of friends. And what it was is that I had stepped out beyond my comfort zone to such an
Mm,
extent that a part of me was seeking comfort, seeking safety. And so
mm,
I went to the safety of old things. And then
mm,
I discovered just the dissonance that I felt in that circle and in those moments showed me just how much I had grown and I was a
yeah,
different person because it no longer fit me. The role they
yeah.
wanted me to play. But the thing is I stayed in that distance for a little while. I was trying that hat on and trying to make it fit. Like, why doesn't it fit anymore? I don't know what this is.
Yeah.
And but because of I was that girl that pleased. I was that
Mm,
girl that would show up, that would perform. Whatever you need, I will do it. Just love
mm-hmm,
me. Love
mm-hmm,
me. right? And I realized when I put myself back in that situation, it was an opportunity for me to see how much I have grown and how far I've come because it no
Yeah.
longer fit. But sometimes we have to do that. We have to actually experience
Yes.
it in order to know
Yes.
that within ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was literally about to say that because sometimes that happens. You leave a certain situation and then it presents itself. You dance with it for a while and then you're thinking,
Mhm.
why am I here? This does not fit me anymore.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like a way for the universe or God, whichever way someone wants to look
Mhm.
at it, reminding you where you have been and how much you've grown. Because sometimes we don't realize how much we've grown.
Mm-mm. No, no, not until we try to put those old jeans on. Right? Those old comfortable jeans don't fit anymore. No.
No. So I just wanted to ask you, when it came to going through all of those things that you went through and substance abuse,
Mhm.
how did that start for you?
How did the substance
How did
abuse
the,
start?
yes, was it more
Well,
to numb
you know,
yourself or was it more to be able to perform?
I think I was
Or
self-medicating. I was self-medicating
mm,
and I was numbing and dissociating. And
mm,
and there was an element of um it was like I would become a different person.
mm,
And I was no longer tied to that person that was victim. And a lot of times,
mm,
what I found is like I tended to see it as like I didn't even know what I was doing
yeah,
really, but I was
yeah,
turning off,
yeah, yeah,
disconnecting, right?
yeah,
Because I didn't want to feel anymore. When the like I drank when I was younger in high school, but I was a jock and I kept it. It didn't feel out of control. But I drank alcoholically. Like I was always the buzz was for the reason. That was the reason. It wasn't because I enjoyed it. It
yeah,
wasn't anything. And then when I lost my kids, it was like something broke, and that's when I started really heavily using drugs and alcohol. And that's when the obsession started to kick in too. It was like me just wanting to turn life off, and
mm,
that's what would happen with when I would try to kill myself as well.
yeah,
And the last
yeah,
time that happened was 2017, and so I'm happy to say that and it was something that had been a pattern my whole life. So
yeah,
there is
yeah.
hope.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. I love that word now. It means so much more now.
Yeah.
Um, when did it, when can you actually remember that it felt safe to be in your body? Because when you've spent so much time being out
Mhm.
and making sure that you're not present, when do you actually remember you being present? The first time that you were really present and you felt completely safe in your body, when was that?
It was when I was in recovery in the 12-step program is when I really started to
Mm,
feel, because that was the first time I really felt safe.
mm.
I was safe in the embrace of the community to be myself, to be my tornado
Yeah.
even and show up in a tornado. Because at first, when I first was getting sober, I was a tornado on a roller coaster, blindfolded, in a
Yeah.
tsunami. So
Yeah.
that was the kind of like, and I could show up like that and then show up the next day. I'm like, love you, how you doing? And it was just
Yeah.
complete acceptance. And so that was the first time. But to be honest, like it is still something that I have to consciously say, okay,
Yes.
because I had a dissociative identity disorder,
Mm.
and was one of some DID was some of my letters. And so me learning how to like meditation has been huge for me,
Mm.
huge, huge. And a lot of the processes that we do are about connecting that mind body connection, and that your intuition. Because if you're
Yeah.
disconnecting, you can't feel any of that,
No.
right? You can't feel
No.
any of that. So a lot of times it's just recognizing sometimes, oh, I'm on autopilot. I'm not even
Yes.
here. And then just it's like Eckhart Tolle, the power of now. It's that meditation is really the presence
Yes.
in your isness. I call it the isness. It's your
Yes.
isness, your essence. And
Yes.
that's when you actually connect to your body, that you can actually feel the isness, the observer,
Mm.
the bigger expansive self that you are, the
Mm.
spiritual self that you are, the spiritual being,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But when we're disconnected, we miss out on so much.
on
And
so
that's been a
much,
part of
even
my
with
journey is also with that self-love is listening to my body,
and
because
coming
our
back to
bodies
it
talk to us in so many
all the
they
time.
yes, yes. And
Yes,
that's
yes. I found for me, I think that was kind of like the last step to really
mm,
just feel safe in coming back into it
yeah.
and being present most of the time. It was a lot easier not to be present.
Mhm,
Um, and you kind of like get so used to it and it becomes your normal. That's your
mhm,
normal. And then the abnormal is when you're connected and it feels like
mhm.
really uncomfortable. But
It
that was
does.
kind of like my last integration. It was hell of uncomfortable. It was very
Hmm.
uncomfortable for a very long time. But I Charity, it's been beautiful speaking to you. Share
Thank
with
you.
the audience, how can they get in touch with you? I'm going to put your information on there, but how they can connect with you? Are they open to connect with you? Can they reach out to you? Um,
Absolutely, and I think we talked about it that I would that any of your listeners that wanted to take advantage of it, that I would offer them a free session to try
mm,
the rapid recode process, or just to strategize and see how and if I can help whatever they're
yeah,
going through. You can go to charitygolden.com, or you can find me on Facebook. My charitygolden.com. You can find me on YouTube. There's a YouTube link there as well. So I'm on YouTube, I'm on Facebook, and I have a group that you can join for free. So just reach out and let's have a conversation. I'd love I'd love to do that.
beautiful. Thank you so much for making time to be here and to share all these amazing, amazing, amazing nuggets. I mean, I've had such an amazing time talking
You
to
do. Thank you.
you. Thank you
Thank you
so
for
much.
being so. You almost made me cry a couple times because being witnessed and received is such a beautiful gift. And so thank you for that gift today.
You so deserve it all the way through. You so deserve it. Thank you so much, guys, for watching. Please connect with Charity. I'm going to put her all her social media that she gives me, and she's also giving away a free session. You should take advantage of it because I mean, look at what it did for her. You just never know what one session can do for you. So do connect with her, check out her offer, and take her up on it. I am telling you, I think I might take myself. I'm going to take that offer up as well. I have
Yeah.
to. I love trying everything. I'm um such a junkie when it comes to coaching stuff.
Oh yeah.
So thank you so much for being such an amazing audience. Share this video, connect with all of us, and if you're interested in growing yourself spiritually, we are going to be having our spiritual membership in October. It starts in October. The waitlist is open. The link is in the comments. Click on it, put your name on the waitlist. We'll only reach out to you when we are sending out the information if you're interested. And that's all from us today. Do take care and enjoy the rest of your day and evening. Bye.